So, welcome one and welcome all. Nice to see you, Bo and Don, Dennis, Amy, Mel. Good to see you guys. We got so many good people in here, and it's really, really good to see you guys. I hope everyone had a wonderful weekend. I had a pretty good weekend. I don't remember what I did, which is probably a good sign of a good weekend. Um, and you may all be able to hear the numbness on half of my face. I just got out of a root canal, which Bo knows about, Mr. Dentist, Bo there. Good times, good times. So, anyways, I'm such a complainer that I make them just load me up with numbing stuff. So I'm so numb that like I can't even close one of my eyes. So I don't know if that's. I think I got hooked up pretty good, pretty good. So yeah, just a nice little root canal, just a nice little root canal, nothing too crazy. But yeah, so half of my face is totally numb. This root canal happened about 2 hours ago, and I'm still just numb to death. So if I sound crazy, I apologize. I can only talk with half of my mouth currently. So that's right, Linda. All nighter with one eye open. uh, oh, self hypnosis. Oh my gosh, that is intense. Well, Bo, this was kind of an emergency one, but I will be coming to Baltimore to have the rest of the stuff done. So just be ready for me because I am coming to you. I'm absolutely coming out there. I didn't appreciate the invite because I'm doing it. I'm coming out. Yeah, right. Oh man, it's so. Anyways, that's why I sound like a crazy person today. But anyway, I'm happy to be with you guys. I'm happy to be here for a little Monday webinar. This is kind of our weekly currency report, and this is where we're going to talk about some of the things we'll be watching this week. New things pop up as the days go by, so this is not absolutely everything that I'm watching this week, and it's also possible that some of these things will do nothing all week long. But we're going to talk about what at least looks good right now for the rest of the week of trading. It's only Monday night, Tuesday morning for some. We've got the whole week ahead of us for trading. We've got some interesting things to do and look at. So let's keep an eye on all of that. For anybody that has not joined us for our daily live sessions, feel free to do so. You can get a 5-day free trial right at that link, daytradersfx.com/join. If you can't understand what I'm saying, which I almost can't understand what I'm saying, then just try to see that little website right there because some of the letters are just not coming out of my mouth too well. Anyways, we'd love to get you set up with a free trial. Come on and join us, and so on and so forth. We've got some interesting things happening this week, namely FOMC statement and interest rates. Now, of course, the interest rates are expected to remain unchanged. If they did, you know, as I've said before, it would break the internet. But the FOMC statement should be pretty interesting, and so we'll have a live session for that on Wednesday. I have to make sure my calendar is clear, but I will clear the calendar for that for sure. We'll be live for that. We'll see what happens Wednesday afternoon for the U.S. Dollar pairs. That should be pretty exciting. Then we have a little news from the central bank in Australia. Stevens is speaking that evening, and then we've got a little more Aussie news. Thursday, some GDP numbers for the U.S., always worth watching, and then a little bit of random news kind of from there on out. So we don't have a lot of big news this week. We have a lot of kind of medium things. Durable goods happened this morning, came out better than expected. Some parts of it were not amazing, which is why the dollar didn't really strengthen too much. But our big news definitely is going to be like all day Wednesday. Australia movement, U.S. dollar movement should be pretty exciting. So be there and be ready for that. And if you're not a member of the group, feel free to get a free trial. F's are kind of a hard one to say too. And you can join us if you get a free trial. You can join us and see how we trade news announcements as well, which I think are pretty exciting. Okay, so there's a couple of things that I'm looking at. I want to spend about 30 seconds on the euro dollar and about 30 seconds on the pound dollar. But I think the euro dollar, remember our Fibonacci sequence right here, still potentially puts the euro dollar at, still potentially we have the target of 118. Now, I don't know if I see 118 happening very soon, but but it could, and it just might, because this whole Fibonacci situation right here is so powerful, and this seems to be holding pretty well that 118 could be a long-term target. What I'm looking for more immediate is just the 200 moving average and these highs back here at about 114, maybe as high as 115. I'm still looking for the euro to get there, and I think it's going to get there. What we want to be doing, we want to be looking for some opportunities to buy the euro against this double bottom, against these lows. So any dips we see this week, we're going to buy euro. We're going to buy euro dollar against about 10800. That seems to be holding pretty well and doing pretty well. And we have a very overextended 200 moving average on the daily chart. It's time to buy some euro dollar for at least a little move up. I'm not looking for hundreds of pips yet, but if we could get 1 to 200 pips, which I think is pretty possible, then we're going to jump into that. So I'd probably like to see around 100 pips of retracement on euro dollar. But if it does dip down, which wouldn't be out of the question, if it does dip down 100 pips or so and gets us, below 110, I'll be buying. I'll be buying euro dollar with like a 112, 50, 1300 profit target. So that's what I'm looking for on euro dollar. That's all I have to say about that. Any questions, comments, let me know. Pound dollar seems to be holding pretty well as well, and I think the pound dollar is also a good opportunity to buy. Here's what I'm probably going to continue doing unless something really crazy changes. For the most part, I'm going to be looking for dollar, slight amounts of dollar weakness until about the first week of September. And then as September rolls in, I think we're probably going to start to see a bit of a turnaround, and we'll probably see a lot of dollar strength going into September or as September starts. But until about the first week of September or the end of August, for about the next month, I'm looking for a little more dollar weakness, and I think we're going to get it. And it may last much longer than I'm expecting, but I think that we are pretty safe in betting on a little bit of dollar weakness for the next couple of weeks. So that being the case, I still think that the pound dollar is a great opportunity to buy above 156.75. We're at 155.60. It's 100 pips away. But if we get above that, I think that's going to open the door to at least retesting these highs and hitting some of these levels we've talked about, like 157.50 and 158.50. So there's going to be, anywhere from 75 to, 150 pips or whatever on this pound dollar trade. I'm not looking for a huge move, but I think we're going to get something pretty decent out of it. So we want to be long pound dollar above 156.75. And chances are I will buy pound dollar if it dips back down to this trend line. This trend line seems to be holding pretty well, and a dip down to that trend line is only about a 60 to 70 pip retracement. If we get this thing back down to about 155.00, I'll probably buy pound dollar as well, with stops below these lows right here. So stops below about 154.50. So looking to buy pound dollar around 155.00, with stops below 154.50. That's kind of the route I'm taking. Okay, good, Sharon, good. So I like pound dollar, and I think that's going to continue to be a nice little trade there. So euro dollar and pound dollar I think are pretty interesting. Dollar CAD. Now, one thing to look at here is that oil is getting pretty hammered. For those of you watching oil a little bit, we're getting back down. Oil held pretty nicely at about the $50 to $55 a barrel area for a bit, and now it's gotten slammed pretty good. It's down to $47, and just kind of staying pretty soft. So we don't really want to buy. Or we don't want to short dollar CAD just yet, because the lower oil prices are going to put pressure on the upside. That's going to make dollar strong, U.S. dollar strong, Canadian dollar weak, and so we don't want to be short against that until that starts to change a bit. And Mel, that is a good question. Why in the world are gas prices so expensive in the great state of California specifically? But everywhere, gas prices should be a minimum of $1 less a gallon. But there's the whole summer thing, and there's the whole, all the oil companies, everyone blame the refineries. It's all the refineries' fault. They can't keep up with capacity, and so on, and just blah 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 blah. And it's just a bunch of garbage. But hopefully gas prices will start to come down a little bit, because they're ridiculously high. And I know they're high everywhere. Australia, right, Caroline? They're crazy in Australia. I know we had Damien on in England, and he said it's about $8 a gallon, give or take. So England's crazy expensive. The U.S. Some parts of the U.S. are considerably, California is probably double the price of the cheapest area in the United States for gas. It's probably double, which is ridiculous. It couldn't be quite that crazy, but it is. So hopefully that tames out a little bit. That would be ugh, 444 in Winnipeg. Good grief! Why is this gas so? We all need electric cars. Let's just get on board with that. We all need electric cars. Um, yeah. So, so that's what we're looking for. So as far as dollar CAD goes, we're going to hold off on this one just a little bit, but we are definitely getting into. I mean, we're not holding off on it. We're just going to be careful and make sure that we have a really great entry here. But dollar CAD is very extended on the 4-hour chart, and it's very extended on the 1-hour chart. Now, it's not very far from the 200 moving average on the 1-hour chart, only about 70 pips. It's quite a bit further on the 4-hour chart, about 300 pips. But we're looking for the perfect opportunity to short dollar CAD, and that's coming up very soon. We got a nice little kind of ascending channel right here. We'll take the break of that. We may trade a double top up around 130, 100. We'll just see how this goes. But I'm looking at some point this week to short dollar CAD, and I think we're going to have a good trade on this one. So this should be very exciting and very excellent. Super looking forward to that one. Here's one that I just want to point out that I'm so happy I wasn't in this thing all the way up and that I didn't make millions of dollars on it. Oh, wait, I'm not happy about that at all. We talked about EuroCAD reaching 14500, and EuroCAD topped off at 144.92, and it will probably keep going. So EuroCAD turned out to be very, very nice. This is just a reminder that these head and shoulders patterns on daily charts are so, so, so powerful, and the price projection is just as rock solid as you can get. So this EuroCAD, after a lot of chopping around, an entire month and a half of chopping around, so I don't feel that bad that I'm not in it. But it's finally made its way up, and it's made a nice little run. So EuroCAD's run nicely. Euro dollar is running nicely. Dollar CAD is running nicely up, and it's gonna give us a very nice opportunity to short that back down. And Mel, that's a good question. If we're looking for the channel to break out for this to move down, I don't know yet. I'm going to watch and see how this goes. I probably would trade a break of that channel. That's been tested 3 times over the last week, and it's a very nice looking channel right there. So a break of that could be a very nice run, at least into that weekly pivot, which would give us, around 100 pips or so of movement. But I wouldn't be surprised to see a double top or even a new high up here. So I wouldn't be surprised to see 130-100 get reached and broken. So I'm kind of waiting for that to happen, and I want to short it at a higher price than in current market. And that's a good one to ask about, the pound CAD, Manuel. And I am keeping an eye on the pound CAD. Here's the problem, though, is that we've got a decent amount of pound strength, and the Canadian dollar is getting a little bit weak, but is a little bit weak, but it's pretty heavily overbought or oversold, I guess, against a lot of pairs. So I'm going to be really cautious about that. We'll keep an eye on the pound CAD and see where this goes. But the Canadian pairs, just to reiterate, are interesting this week. Euro pairs are interesting this week, and New Zealand pairs are very interesting this week. Let's talk about some of the New Zealand pairs. Aussie New Zealand has moved pretty well this last little run. The Aussie New Zealand has been in a nice, it kind of went crazy. It dropped a whole bunch, consolidated at this low, and then ran up a whole bunch, hundreds of pips, and kind of consolidated just shy of the 200 moving average. And now it's kind of coming back down again. And I think the Aussie New Zealand is going to continue to drop a nice little bit. 2 things I would like to see happen is this is kind of continuing to make lows here. So I'd like to see a decent amount of retracement up towards this missed weekly pivot around 111.30, which is a little ways away. It's 120 pips away, 130 pips away. If that hits 111.30, then I will probably short Aussie New Zealand from 111.30 and trade this thing on down to a lot of these missed targets. We have a nice missed weekly pivot down here, 109.50. We've got some nice fib levels and some other things down here. So there's good reason to believe that we could get this down to 109.00 and even below after a bit of retracement. Otherwise, if this just kind of pulls back 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 pips and then just keeps dropping, then I'll probably get short once again below 110. and just short Aussie New Zealand below 110 and see if we can get a little bit of a momentum trade. We had a nice little kind of double top right here, and then we've got this nice little double bottom that does not seem to be holding. And there's a lot of reasons to believe that the New Zealand dollar is going to rally a bit against pretty much everybody. So far it's rallying nicely against the pound or the Aussie dollar. It's made a nice little move down there of 300 plus pips. So we're going to be looking to either sell a little bit of a pullback or just short this thing below 110. That's Aussie New Zealand. We're also watching New Zealand dollar. New Zealand dollar's been in a nice little downward channel for some time. Now it's trying to break above 6,700. Now 6,700, we're at about 66.13. We're looking to just kind of put in a little bit of a bottom here. You can see that on the 4-hour chart, we've got a little bit of a head and shoulders pattern going here, which is great. We've got a pretty overextended 4-hour chart, which is also great. And so a lot of things to get us amped about riding this thing up. So I think New Zealand dollar's got some good potential. Here's our neckline right here on New Zealand dollar. So neckline is right there. This is that 6,700 area, but we start breaking above that neckline anywhere from about 66.75 to 6,700, and we should have a pretty decent movement. I'm looking for probably a move into this weekly pivot up here, about 68.50, and potentially as high as this monthly pivot up here at 69.20. So I think there's about 150 to 250 pips once this little 4-hour inverse head and shoulders pattern breaks. So I'm looking to get long New Zealand dollar this week as well. So I want to be buying dips on euro dollar, buying dips on pound dollar, selling rallies on dollar CAD, selling rallies on Aussie New Zealand, and then definitely with this New Zealand dollar, I want to buy some dips, or we can just simply wait for the breakout and get into this thing somewhere above about 66.75 or 6,700. So good little setup there. So keep that in mind. Euro New Zealand is looking pretty interesting as well. We've got a nice little extended 15-minute chart, which is looking good. But more interestingly, we've got a very overextended 4-hour chart on the Euro New Zealand. Now, Euro is looking strong and it's holding strong, and we're going to respect that for as long as we need to. But we're looking for opportunities to short this against some of these highs. We've got a pretty excellent 4-hour chart set up right here. This thing is looking really, really good. So we get this up another 100 pips or so, and I think there's going to be some good opportunities to short Euro New Zealand. So we'll be looking for that this week as well. I'm probably not going to buy any dips on Euro New Zealand, but I will short some rallies, and I think that's going to be exciting. Pound New Zealand, I want to short the Pound New Zealand as well. The pound is holding fairly strong, but the New Zealand dollar seems to be slowly picking up some steam, and I think it's going to be a nice one to trade. So here's the Pound New Zealand. Here's our daily chart. It's just running up, and it's also in the process creating just a little bit of a narrowing rising wedge right here. And as that continues to move higher and run up, this turns into a nice opportunity to short it. Our daily chart is very overextended, and our 4-hour chart is decently overextended. So this is a good little setup, and I think if we can get into a break of this channel somewhere below 2.3400, maybe even 3500, somewhere in that general vicinity, I think that opens this thing up for a couple hundred pips of movement downward. So I'm ready for that. I'm watching for that. And I think that's going to be a nice little opportunity this week as well. It could make a new high. It could kind of continue up and do all of that. And if so, we'll short some highs or we'll sell some breaks. Either way, this should be a nice little mover this week. And then last but not least, we have the Euro Yen, which I still love. This is such a beautiful head and shoulders pattern. As long as this doesn't break up too high, it might give us a double top. You never know. But so far, the head and shoulders pattern is holding very, 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 very nicely, and is giving us an opportunity, hopefully in the very near future, to sell the break somewhere or sell some resistance or something and trade this euro dollar down for 500 to 700 pips. So that one's going to be good. So just a quick little recap of everything. Let's buy dips on euro dollar. Let's buy dips on pound dollar. Let's sell some rallies on dollar CAD. Sell some rallies on Aussie New Zealand. And buy some dips on New Zealand dollar. I think that's going to be a great one. I love that trade a lot. And then we're looking for opportunities on Euro Yen still, and we're looking for opportunities to sell rallies on Euro New Zealand and sell the break on Pound New Zealand. So I think that's going to be pretty good. Pound Aussie, Bo, yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one to keep an eye on. It's had a pretty nice steady trend, and the Australian dollar is getting beat up pretty good. So I think trading a lot of things against, in the favor of Australian dollar weakness is going to be a good move. So yeah, just following that trend is going to be pretty excellent. You can see that this thing's been running along pretty nicely. I'd like to see a decent sized dip on it before buying into it, but I think there's a pretty good opportunity there. So we're going to talk about Euro Aussie and Pound Aussie a little bit this week as well. But for the moment, let's keep an eye on Euro New Zealand, Euro Yen, Euro Dollar, Pound Dollar, Aussie New Zealand, New Zealand Dollar, and Pound New Zealand. So those are going to be some interesting trades this week. We've got 6 or 7 really good ones that I'm excited to jump into as the week goes on, and we'll see how it all goes from there. But so far it's looking great, and I'm pretty excited about all these setups. So I hope you are as well. I hope you guys all make some fantastic money on these trades, and don't hesitate to send me over some questions. Let's get this video posted, and I will take anybody's question right now. Let's have it.